Hello, good afternoon. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and our guest today is Jim Ead from Ead Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, Sasha. It's great to be here. It's great to have green on my screen.
Yes. Tell me a little bit a deal between Marvell and NVIDIA.
Marvell and both have popped today.
Yeah.
Based, I think, in part, significantly in part due to that deal. Um, and I didn't see that coming. I hadn't made any moves in 2026 until I sold Marvell, and it went down as I thought it would, and then all of a sudden, this deal with Nvidia. If I would have held off if I had known this was coming, but I didn't. Um, and it's back up almost to the point where I sold it. So it's up 10 points today, Marvell. Nvidia is up over 8.5. So Marvell is back up to where I sold it. My target price was 110, and I sold it just shy of 99. And my target price was based on doubling my investment. And then I realized I was just being greedy. And in the current environment, I just felt things were very, very unpredictable. And I thought that I should start to trim my holdings. But often as an investor, you double think and you triple think, and you wonder about the moves that you've made. And I just see the dollar continuing to weaken, and the only real way to make money, not lose your purchasing power, is in equities. So I think I have to be in them. So I'm sort of regretting that I sold Marvell.
Well, it's okay. You can always get in, and the only thing is the timing when to do it. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a little bit too early to get in. And from my perspective, I think that I was listening to Gareth Soloway, and he's saying that he's waiting for Marvell to get around 110, and it will be a perfect short. So, so this is yet another perspective. Jim, what do you think today, judging from market reaction today? Do you think that the market is betting on a taco scenario for Trump to get a hell out of there and cut your losses? Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter if it's open or not open. By the way, it's very strange that before the war, Strait of Hormuz was open, and now U.S. is fighting to get it reopened. It was open anyway before the
Yeah.
war. So what kind of strange war is that?
It's one of the repercussions that I think was predictable, but Trump and his cronies did not consider, is that by the closing of that strait, you have suddenly made Russian oil more valuable, Russian fertilizer more valuable. So one of the guys who's happiest about Trump's action is Putin, because the Russian economy was really rocky, and now they're getting a shot of money based on people turning to Russian oil as an alternative. So just the consequences of this decision, and it was a unilateral decision. It was a war of choice, and Trump did something that other presidents who have taken action did not do. Other presidents got the allies that they needed together before they took action. Trump took action, and then he expected other people to come in and help him. And this is backwards kind of thinking, and it's typical of Trump in thinking that he doesn't need anybody until he needs people. And then he says, "Where are you? Why aren't you helping me?" And so he is getting some level of support. But what the market is doing is every time they say that the war might be over, the market rallies. And then when they realize that it wasn't ending, the market tanks.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of market that I really don't want to play in. I don't want any part of it. So there's no predictability based on economic trends. the normal factors that goes into business decision making, whether you expand. NVIDIA buying $2 billion worth of Marvell, I didn't expect that. That's the kind of thing that, that's kind of the normal kind of unexpected occurrence that happens. But with Trump, anything is possible. You can't predict the future. I couldn't predict NVIDIA buying so much of Marvell, but it can't be surprised when he decides to attack another country.
Yeah, it's too many unknown
Yeah.
to make intelligent decisions. It's more a crapshoot. You believe that there will be a taco. And actually, I was listening in last day or two to Professor John Mersheimer, who is, I always listen to him just to get a different perspective because obviously he's a Republican, he was a staunch supporter of Trump. And what I lately heard from him is no longer supporter of Trump. And in fact, what he's told in last couple of broadcasts is that US has three scenarios at this point. Number one is taco, and in his opinion, that's the most preferable scenario, despite of all kind of downside of this decision. But the other scenario, limited invasion or a full-scale invasion of Iran, these are two even worse scenarios than taco, because now we are playing with the lives of American soldiers. And the problem is that the US has enough power to overwhelm Iran through ground operation. The problem is that the US doesn't want to pay the price required for that.
So you want 50,000 troops.
Yeah, so you want to get and overwhelm Iran through ground operation. On the other hand, the price to pay for this operation is unacceptable for American people. So then that leaves us with only one scenario, the taco. Even despite the Strait of Hormuz, either it will be reopened or it will remain closed. Actually, it's not closed. It's open to Chinese tankers. It's open to Iranian oil to get shipped out. So that's incredibly cumbersome situation for the United States, and I'm not sure what's the best way to deal with this. I still believe that taco is the least painful thing for the United States to do. Okay, they can claim actually that they change regime. I don't think that it's a change of regime what's happening. I think it's a change of people on top of the regime, right? Because the regime is staying intact. From now on, Iran will play its major card. It will demand from Gulf states reparations to be paid to Iran for this war because they were the ones who wanted Trump to start the war against Iran. And but the problem is that the United States cannot defend these Gulf states. They cannot defend even their own military bases. Most of them are closed, and they are staying in the hotels. And these nations are fighting to get them out of the hotels because the hotels are becoming targets for Iranians. So Iranians will demand actually closing of all American bases in the region, get them the hell out of there, pay reparations to Iran, and that scenario is also not very attractive for America, I guess, but maybe that's a lesser evil at this point in time. What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think there's only bad choices now, and which is the worst and which is the best bad choice can be debated. I think something did have to be done about Iran. I don't think that the overall idea was wrong. It was just that you had to build a consensus among your allies. before you started doing this activity. I know that Israel is under a more immediate threat from Iran, but as you say, there are other Arabian states that Saudi Arabia, for example, is encouraging Trump to continue, and so there is a consensus that Iran was a bad actor, and under the Ayatollah, but as you say, killing the Ayatollah is one thing, but who replaces him is another. And Trump had this idea that the Iranian people would rise up. Well, right now they're hiding; they're not rising up, and who can blame them? And so really the regime is intact. It's just a different person going to be leading it, the face of the regime. So that objective has not been accomplished. And I don't think you can destroy all the nuclear material. And one of the things that is a consequence of this is not only is Russian oil more valuable than it used to be, but Russian satellite intelligence is being used by Iran to target U.S. military bases, Israeli targets. These are the types of things that I don't think most people have a grip on in terms of who's the real bad actor in here. It still goes back to Russia and the supporting of countries that are anti-United States, anti-Israel, but Putin could not be happier with the mess that Trump has made. It's a shot in his arm in terms of economic resources. But if they had gotten allies together, there was no sense looking in the past, then their options would be greater now. And the pain would be shared. He's got 50,000 troops over there already. For what purpose? To take over an island? To open the strait? None of this makes much sense to me. I'm not sure what the exit strategy is. Declaring peace with honor is what Nixon did in Vietnam, and maybe something like that will work for some people today. But I think the majority of the citizens of the United States have come to the same conclusion that this war of choice was unnecessary. They've been threatening us for 73 years. I don't see why, this action was necessary at that moment. And again, not bringing in a consensus of our allies was folly. And how we get out now, I think you're right that there's just bad choices. Picking the best of the bad choices is what we're left with now. Thanks to one.
Yes, Jim, I agree with you. And speaking about the market, it shows spectacular performance today. But we had it a couple of weeks ago already when Trump said that there are very successful negotiations and so on. But then it went down almost instantly because, first of all, Iranians denied any negotiations with the US. Iran came up with their six points plan, and they're demanding reparation from US, and there's all kind of some of these ridiculous things. So, but the American peace plan also ridiculous. So there are no points of negotiations of any kind. However, what's interesting now, China is getting involved in negotiations. The Pakistan card, it was all arranged by China, not Pakistan or anything else. It's China there. So apparently, US and Israel now becoming puppets in China's hands, because they are going. See, China was very carefully following up the development of this war. They count every Tomahawk missile sent to Iran by Americans, how many they already showed, how many they have left, how many they're bringing from United States to the theater. This ground troops are coming in. I think the ground troops they're playing a role of helping to negotiate more favorable terms for Trump. I don't think that he will go for the invasion because there will be losses of life for Americans. And that is, you can do anything. The Strait of Hormuz, it's open or it's not open. All that could be stomached by Americans, but not a loss, especially if substantial losses in case of ground invasion. So it's really situation is, but I think the market is always right, and I think based on today's action, I think market knows that the toughest scenario is taking place, so it will be another week, 2 weeks, whatever time it will take to formulate, negotiate, and talk about it. Iran still says that they're not involved in negotiations, that there's nothing to negotiate. But it seems to me that now, all of a sudden, Iran has more cards to play than US and Israel, it seems to me. Because their major cards is devastating attacks against Gulf states. It's a terrorism around the world, could be even in US soil. And that is becoming quite worrisome scenario. You can continue to bombing Iranian positions, factories, whatever is there left. But see, the problem is that Iran, in case of a peace agreement, they can reinstate their military might quite quickly. It will take a few months, and they will have the missile launchers, missiles, and drones. And they still have a lot of missiles and drones. We don't know just. There's worrisome scenario about the new missiles that Iran now has in its possession and already demonstrated them. They're quite devastating. Now the talk is that these new missiles are coming from North Korea. Could be. How did they come to North Korea? Through Russia or China? Probably. So it seems to me that not only Trump doesn't have any international support, which unfortunately he didn't think about it. He thought about that he will teach Europeans how to live and what to do and what not to do. And all of a sudden now, we don't need NATO, we don't need Europe. Oh, why don't you help us? We need your help. So it's kind of mixed messages. It's absolute, in my opinion, it's a military political disaster.
I agree. Yeah. And the effect on the markets, again, like when they think that some sort of brokered peace agreement might be evident, the markets go up. And when that falls apart, the markets go down. And there's just a great deal of uncertainty. And it's very difficult for companies to plan in this. The NVIDIA infusion of $2 billion into Marvell was surprising to me, because in this environment, how could they be making that kind of commitment? But they did. So there's still confidence in certain companies that their future is going on unperturbed by the war of choice that Trump initiated. So there are still companies out there that are planning for the future, as though these actions are not going to change the future to that they believe in growth. They believe in future revenues. Future revenues will continue to grow. And I think I have that underlying confidence in the overall market. But it's a question, as you said earlier, of timing. And I think right now, given the current level of unpredictability, and this may last as long as November, when we will have midterm elections, and we'll see if the American citizens have had enough of this little boy behavior. I don't need you. I need you. I'll do this myself. Why aren't you helping me? Kind of thinking. It's really, and he's attacking at political enemies. Is attempting to suppress the vote. All of these types of things. These are very un-American activities.
Yes, totally agree with you.
And I can't believe the majority of the United States voters are going to support this type of behavior. And I
And
think,
you've seen this No Kings rallies
yes,
every day.
yes,
There were like 8 to 9 million people
right,
participated in against the country.
right,
Across the country, there were incredible amount of people who came out for this events, and his rating is now at the lowest point of any president in his second year. So maybe Trump is. He understands that the way it is, the election will be lost. So either he will try to cancel the election, or he will do something incredible to turn things around. But I'm not sure what it could be to turn things around.
right.
Um, Maybe he thinks about a nuclear option against Iran. Um, well, I mean, it's
Can't
horrible.
can't rule it out.
Yeah.
With this person calling the shots, um, it's just too horrible to contemplate.
Actually,
Yes,
scenario, Jim, scenario is very similar to 1945 in Japan. Why Americans use nuclear option is to save lives of American soldiers who would invade Japan and they would lose hundreds of thousands of people. So to avoid that option, they decided to use nuclear option. Okay, so could it be the same thinking against Iran? If we will invade, we will lose 100,000 of American soldiers, and to avoid that, we will use nuclear option, and this way we will obliterate Iran or so on. But I don't think that that's in the cards. It's just too.
the the comparison doesn't quite meet because they were at war in World War II, and the way to end the war was being debated. And Iran wasn't at war with anybody. What they with the bad actor part of Iran was they were funding terrorist groups. They were supporting terrorist groups, which also Russia has been doing.
Yeah.
But, and so they are a bad actor, and isolating them or somehow putting economic sanctions on them, all of those things I would have been supportive of, but there are Iranians dying, and this is not something that we should ignore. We bombed a girls' school, killing 100 girls. This is like the kind of thing that, how can we just turn our heads and look away at that type of thing? We have to feel for them as well. They're living under a brutal regime. Of course they are. And but when the missiles strike, they're indiscriminate about who they kill. And
Talking about brutal regime, Jim, don't you think that actions of the Trump administration in Minnesota killing
yes,
civilian
of
people,
course.
that's also brutal?
We haven't even talked about that. Yes, the militarization of forces and the federalization of voting. These types of things. Again, there's a pattern of un-American activity in this
Yeah,
president, in
totally agree with
this
you.
administration. He does not represent us. He is the face of the United States now, and it's an ugly face. Let's put it,
Yes,
bluntly.
no
Um,
doubt.
so what and we can change it with our votes, and I hope that we do, and the markets will then get back to a sense of normalcy and predictability, and where they tend to thrive, because the markets were booming before Trump, and they weren't they were booming under Obama. They had struggled under Trump. They were booming again under Biden, and they're struggling under Trump. There's a pattern here that we can see, and it's a pattern of unpredictability. We don't know what he will do next. The markets don't like that kind of uncertainty. Some companies are capable of ignoring it, some are not, and some are paying the price. So, we have to be very selective where we put our money. But I will again say that the dollar is losing value. The purchasing power of your American dollar is waning. And the only way for you to stay ahead, you can't get it from the bank's interest rates. You're going to have to invest. You have to be in equities. And where you put that money right now, I wish I could tell you, but it's such an unpredictable environment. I think it's wait and see. Um, I'm going to sit out. I took money off the table for the first time this year, and I haven't invested in anything this year. I still have, based on something you told me about, NVDY, which pays dividends on a weekly basis. So there's some income that's coming into me through investments. And there are other investments that I have that, my core portfolio is one thing. We're talking mostly about our fund portfolio, where we want to, enjoy ourselves. And it's very hard to enjoy yourself when you're looking at red.
I did make some little investments in actually the last couple of days. I thought that if the US dollar is going down, so that could be beneficial, for example, for surprisingly Bitcoin. So Bitcoin actually didn't go as much. It went down, but not as much as US dollar. So I think that Bitcoin, in fact, in almost any scenario, whether US dollar will continue to go down or will stay the same, I think Bitcoin could go higher. But I didn't invest in Bitcoin directly. What I did, I acquired assets that are tied up to Bitcoin. For example, a company, it's not company, it's ETF rather, SOLZ. It's Solana. It's one of these coins in this Bitcoin universe, but it's tied up to Bitcoin in a way. So, for example, I bought small position, about 1,000 shares. They're very cheap. They're now trading at 837. Yeah, that's the last trade, 837. And I sold 10 covered calls of 10 and a half, June 17th. So in a way, it's again kind of a hedging position. On the other hand, if Solana will continue to go higher, I will make a little bit of money on this position. Then, of course, MicroStrategy, which now called Strategy, that's tied up completely to Bitcoin. And if it will go higher, then MicroStrategy will go higher. And also, that's nothing to do with Bitcoin, it's rather with kind of mini nuclear plants technology company with the name SMR. Okay, about 500 shares. They're slightly higher today. Trading now at 1081. So they're not they're not expensive. They went down quite a bit in the last several weeks. So let's see, maybe it will work out. Well, depends on the Bitcoin. If Bitcoin will move up, it could move up maybe to 80,000 in the next few weeks, maybe even sooner. So this way, both Solana and MicroStrategy or Strategy, they should probably move somewhat higher. And if not, then I'll close my positions. But we'll see. We'll see. So far, it's working a little bit.
There's a couple of things I wanted to add. One is I noticed the first one you mentioned is a Canadian company. How is the Canadian currency holding up in this environment?
It's about the same. There are no big movements in Canadian currency because, of course, because of this Trump's policies, his tariffs, and everything else. He wants now a new thinking. He doesn't want Canada as a 51st state, so he doesn't want some kind of like obliterate Canada, but he wants to dismember Canada. He wants to work on the provinces like Alberta. So I don't need all Canada. All I need is Alberta, the province, which is very rich on oil.
Oil, yes.
Okay, so he may work on that. Although right now I don't think that he doesn't have strategic thinking. He is going where the money is. With Ukraine, he lost interest to Ukrainian-Russia war because there was a point where the $250 billion of Russian money were frozen by Europeans. So part of his plans of peace between Ukraine and Russia was that both him and Putin will get hands on this $250 billion. So they'll split evenly between him and Putin, and so it's so-called Geschäft diplomacy, and that was pursued. Now, when Europeans used this money last Friday as a collateral for their loan to Ukraine, so the money is no longer available, neither to him or Putin. So he lost interest. There's no money for him. So now the same with Iran. He wanted to have a Strait of Hormuz controlled by him and one of the ayatollahs from Iran. So when this now becoming a dream, I think he's losing interest to this war because there is no money for him, right?
Yeah, interesting. The chess analogy would be, he has no strategy. So then what else can you do to win a game of chess? You can be a good tactician. Yet he's not a very good tactician either. He walks into mistake.
He's not a strategist. He's not a tactician. He's several times convicted felon. That's what he is. So
it's a shame, but what's good about this country may very well fix what's wrong with it, and so we can look at our better angels and think that the future. November is not right around the corner, but it will come, and we will raise our voices, speak up and speak out, and make changes. And those changes, right now there are some Republicans that are worried about their electability, and they're distancing themselves from Trump. So it's also they're showing signs of cracks in the Republican unity, and it used to be they were afraid of Trump, and it seems to be they no longer are.
Yeah. And look at this, that all the recent elections in the United States, they were all won by Democrats, including in Mar-a-Lago, in his territory. Democrats won those elections there. So it seems to me that the Republicans have all reasons to get worried that the endorsement of Trump doesn't guarantee anything.
Right.
In fact, they can lose because of the endorsement.
And Florida turned into a red state, but it might be in play again. North Carolina might be in play in terms of the Senate. So these types of states that were, pretty much given up hope. In Georgia, that there may be Senate elections that go Democrat in Georgia. In Louisiana, there have been some startling results there. So maybe in Texas, there might be some signs of change in Texas politics as well. So we're not talking so much about blue states as we are red states that are showing signs of weakening. And it just in terms of their MAGA support. Once we get MAGA behind us and we start acting as though we're cooperating with the rest of the world and even competing with them in trade, instead of trying to bully and dominate them, once we get back to what really makes the country great, then I think markets will still be where you want your money. And equities are still the way that you can generate enough wealth to not only maintain but increase your purchasing power.
Absolutely, Jim, totally agree with you. I thank you very much for today's program.
And happy birthday. This is the last day of your birthday month.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim, and have a great week of trading, investing, and everything what you're doing, and so to our listeners. Thanks, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.